Hey, good morning to everybody. Happy Monday. It's Cyril here. It is bright and freaking early, man. It's 3 a.m. here in Connecticut on the East Coast. Man, I could have said this yesterday. I could have predicted this yesterday like 100%. He was just joking. I think he was trying to say that he was trying to make a comment about how badly things are going with Biden and how much better the economy will be in 4 years. He was just joking. The comments from yesterday. Let me start right there. I could have predicted this yesterday. You know, you always hear the Trump apologists, explainers coming out with this. You know, Senator Tom Cotton already saying that I think Trump was just joking when he said that. Like when I did that, when I actually saw him say that, and the context in which he said it, the people that he was saying it to, the Christian nationalists, and you know their whole outlook. You know, I'm like he is serious 100%. You know, and they are loving it 100%. You know, he's serious about this. I could have predicted this yesterday. They always do this. You know, he was just joking. Don't worry about it. I always talk about empathy on this channel, and a lot of times it's not empathy. To me, isn't just like trying to say, "Oh, I could imagine that poor guy over there how he feels." No, a lot of times I use empathy to try to get into people's heads. Okay, so like with Tom Cotton saying this, I try to reverse the whole thing in my head. Like, what if it was Kamala Harris? And what's the most, like, to me, that's the scariest thing. If Trump stays in office, if Trump becomes like a dictator, an autocracy. So what's the scariest things to Trumpers? The white replacement theory, right? I think that's probably the scariest thing to, there's going to be a link down below to these people harassing some young boys playing in Nashville, Tennessee, playing on drums, playing to earn extra money. I'll put the link down below. Anyway, what's the scariest thing to Trumpers? The white replacement theory. So what if Kamala Harris came out and said, just came out and said something like that? Well, we're trying to turn the color of America to a darker shade. What if she said something like that? Like she went to Harlem, and she said that to. And then I came out here and said, oh, you know what? She was just joking. She was just making a reference to how Trump his theory on the wall or something like that. What would I be thinking when I said that? Why would I say that? If Kamala Harris did say that, why? And I'm going to vote for Kamala Harris. And if I said she was joking, what would be going on inside my head? I'd be thinking, yeah, I bet you she's really going to do that, but I'm going to try to alleviate their fears and, so that it can happen, so people will continue voting for Kamala Harris. So I try to picture with Tom Cotton what is going on in his head by using empathy. And I think in his head, by using empathy, I think he's thinking, Trump is going to stay. There's a good chance that he's going to stay in office, that he's never going to leave, that he never wants to leave office, but we don't want to scare the voting public. I'd be okay with that. I'm great with Trump. I think that's what's going on in his head by using empathy. That's my thoughts on that. But when I saw this yesterday, it affected me so much. It really made me think about, it made me, sometimes, I can't believe I'm still stunned by what Trump says. And when I saw him say this yesterday, it reminded me of his mindset. And I started thinking about the whole thing that happened at the rally with the attempt on him, and I started thinking about when I first saw that, I was like, you gotta, when the attempt on him at the rally, when I first watched it, I was like, you gotta be freaking kidding me. This happening could make him a virtual martyr, a virtual superstar, a superhero. And as I was watching, then when he pops back up and he starts going fight, I'm like, you gotta be freaking, it's like my worst nightmare. I'm thinking to myself, this guy is just like, he's like, this is mega, it's a fantasy, is this really happening? Can this really be happening? And when I saw Trump say that yesterday about never having to vote again, it made me think, is there a bigger plot to all this? What if he thought about, what would make me a guarantee to get to office? What would make me superhuman, a superhero? What if it was all planned? And I started looking at some of the points that went on that day when the attempt was made on him, and I'm starting to think it was all planned. I'm not a big conspiracy theorist, but pick some of these points I wrote down. The highest point on that roof, right? These guys are Secret Service, and they don't check that roof. But the thing that blows my mind even more is they were filming this guy for over 2 minutes. There's video of this guy on the roof for over 2 minutes. They're telling the Secret Service, they're telling the cops, and nobody is doing anything about it. That's not neglecting their duties. There's something wrong there. It's like it was supposed to happen, like it was scripted. That's what I started thinking. The Secret Service had eyes on him for over 88 seconds and let him get the shots off before they took him out. I don't think this is dereliction of duty. I don't think this is, I think this was planned. I'm starting to think this was planned. And wait, I'm getting to the bigger ones. How he set off the detectors with his rangefinder. So the Secret Service supposedly had eyes on him, and then they lost him in the crowd. So there's this guy wandering around that they know about with a backpack, with a rangefinder. So the two things you use that for golfing and for shooting. And there's no golf course there, so what was this freaking guy using that for? And you're telling me the Secret Service just lost him in the crowd. And then they see him on the roof, and they leave him up there, and they let him get the shots off. This goes beyond not doing your job. To me, it's like, it looks like it was supposed to happen. I'm not a conspiracy theorist, but wait, it gets even. His parents called the police and told him that he was missing and his father's rifle was missing, and nobody did anything about it. Okay, now let's look at Trump, because there's just certain things. When I saw that day, there was just things that, like I said, I was like, you gotta be freaking kidding me. This is like a movie. This is like it's scripted. This is mega, I don't want to say porn, but the thing that I picture is when, after he goes down and ducks, Secret Service surrounds him. So at that point, as Secret Service surrounds him, there's an active shooter, right? They don't know how many, they don't know from what direction. It's all just happening in seconds. And they let him stick his big, fat, orange pumpkin head back up and go fight. But, in what world would they do that? They are there to stop him from doing that. The Secret Service has the authority just to push his head, to keep him safe. But yet they let him stick his big, orange pumpkin head up there to give this iconic fight. And let's talk about that. When I saw that, I was like, you gotta be kidding me. That's not a normal human response. It's something you would see in a freaking superhero movie. I've always talked about, I've shot a lot of guns in my life. My father left me his guns. And I always complain about how in the movies, it always appears, or on TV shows like the A-Team, they shoot and nobody gets hurt. That's what this looked like. Like this shot that was such a miraculous miss. This guy had a rangefinder, a scope, and all that, and he only nicked him. Are you freaking kidding me? It doesn't make sense. A lot of this stuff just doesn't make sense. But wait, here's the one that really, it was yesterday when I started seeing him talking about staying in office. I'm like, what if this is all just a big thing to get him to be king of America, to get him elected, to make him a martyr, to make him more than, all throughout history, there's been leaders that were looked at as gods, as more than human, being able to survive an attempt like that. What if, and I'm thinking, an arrogant narcissist, that's right up his alley. And then he talks about ratings. Ratings is his biggest thing. What's going to get the biggest ratings than this? And him go and fight. That is just that. You couldn't make that any better. You couldn't make that any, even if you scripted it, it couldn't be any better. It couldn't be any more perfect for him to be a superhero, to be more than a human being. They see him on the roof. It's almost like it was all supposed to happen. Now, Trumpers are complaining about Google because supposedly, if you try to Google I'll put the link to this story down below. It's probably been fixed. I don't know, but supposedly they've been trying to Google the attempt on Trump, and Google doesn't have it. All it has is attempts on Bob Marley, attempts on Archduke Ferdinand, but nothing about Trump. And they're saying, it's a big conspiracy theory. They're trying to hide it, that it's all. I think Trump scripted this. I do. And here's the biggest thing of all. I'm saving for the end. His ear has miraculously healed. Supposedly a piece of cartilage was taken off by his own doctor. That freaking whack job, that quack, his doctor. The one that's popping pills and saying that everybody else is on pills, the one that Joe Biden tested, I forgot what his name is. He said a piece of his cartilage was taken off. That's Trump's doctor. A piece of cartilage does not, the skin cannot heal itself. It takes months. I actually dove into the ocean and I scraped my nose. I was all drunk back when I was a teenager. And I scraped my nose on the bottom. I scraped my whole face on the bottom. And it took months for my nose to heal. And the doctors told me it was because of the circulation, the limited circulation, the cartilage in your nose. Same thing with the ear. But yet Trump's ear is completely healed. Not a scratch, not a mark, not a bandage. And a week later, nothing. It's all complete. The cartilage grew back. He's so superhuman. You gotta be freaking kidding me here. When I saw that, the bandage is off and his ear looks perfect. You gotta be freaking kidding me. I'm not a big conspiracy theory guy, but when I saw him say this yesterday about not having to vote again, it made me realize how evil, how despicable, how plotting people can be. Because sometimes when you're a normal person and you have empathy and you care and you have compassion, you think everybody else does. You don't see the evil side of people and you tend to forget it. You try to, you think like you use empathy. But then when I really saw that yesterday and I started thinking about it, I'm like, this guy is freaking evil. I think his plan is to stay in office until he can't anymore. And then I think his plan is to install Donald Trump Jr. I think he's grooming either Junior or his daughter, Melania, what's her name? I can't even remember her freaking name, and I don't even care. I think he's grooming one of those two. Well, we all know Eric Trump is kind of short-circuited, so I wouldn't be him. One of those two, I think he wants to make Trump the royal family. It's all about ratings for him, and will we get more ratings than him being a freaking virtual superhero? How does his ear heal? How does the Secret Service lose this guy over and over again? After his parents report him missing, they see him with a rangefinder, they lose him in the crowd, they see him on the roof, and they don't do anything. How many? These are so many coincidences where the probability factor just goes down or goes up to 100. That this couldn't possibly all happen. And then his ear miraculously healing. It doesn't add up to me. I'm not a conspiracy theory guy, but this does not add up to me. I think it was all plotted. I'm starting to really believe that Trump, for ratings, to make him more a superhero, a superhuman hero, so that he can stay in office. I think his plans are to stay in office indefinitely, and this is part of that, to make him a god, to make him, America needs him, he's invincible, we need him, Captain America. That's what I think this is part of. I'm really starting to believe this. Let me know what you think. Have a good Monday.